So, without further ado, let's get started with this little run right here. This is the 120% Human Theory TAS by John Unfill, who's joined with me here in this voice call. Look at this beautiful PlayStation startup also, just like, mwah, you know, you love to see
It's
it.
the best. It's just so good.
It's like you can understand why Zando Toaster still plays on PS1 and stuff like that, even though he has a PS2. It's literally just for that screen alone makes it worth it.
100%.
Yeah, totally. So awesome. So tell me a little bit, John, as we get into it here, like how this task came to be, what kind of inspired you to make it, and sort of how it kind of came to be.
It was kind of a spite project, actually.
What were you spiteful against?
So, well, it just peeved me to no end that there was nothing like there wasn't like any sort of a task or even a theory task for this category. So when people were talking about what was like essentially peak human performance, people were always talking about the world record, and that's really just not the case, right?
Thank you.
I think even still, we don't have a good picture of what optimal gameplay looks like in this game. But would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I mean, it's the thing about a theory task is like actually any sort of task really is it's basically a screenshot of game knowledge at the time it was made. So this is 6 months old by now, maybe even more.
So,
I actually forget even exactly when I made it.
So would you call this task like outdated now by modern standards, or like how much? So if so,
well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it outdated, but there's a lot of stuff that should be here that isn't. I don't know that any of it's like groundbreaking, but
yeah.
But still, I mean, the big one that jumps into my mind is the quicker Shemp kill, where you like get behind it before he even does that final swing.
Yeah, there's that. There's like the I know there was that thing that was found in in treetops recently, where you go through like the poles. That's like another like little. But I mean, all these little strats I think that we're going to be talking about as we go through this run are all going to be such minor, little, tiny things.
Yeah.
That it's like even if it's like, you know, someone finds a little thing that saves a few frames or like a half second, it's like, all right, it's outdated now, right? Because of like that little bit. But it's never anything so huge, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything that's like hugely obsoleted this, but I mean,
I love that little crystal push you did there against the blue crystal. That's very dangerous to do in a real-time run. That you'll almost certainly bonk if you try to push up against the crystals.
That was about the one thing that went well in this Sunny Flight. Like this, I put so little effort into this Sunny Flight, and
yeah,
honestly, I really should have just restarted this theory test before I moved on. But
no, don't even feel bad. It's good. And again, it's a theory task. This isn't like a true like optimized like task. This is a theory task. So, can you explain, like, just for people who are like kind of new to the concept, what's the difference between a human theory task and an actual tool-assisted super play?
Well, I mean, like an actual serious task, you're going to be going through one frame at a time, programming exactly the inputs you want, and and in a task, something that saves 5 frames is a huge deal. It's a much bigger difference. Like when I did this entire thing with one very notable exception. I did this entire thing with a controller, just playing at full speed.
Mm-hmm. And so you would kind of like record like a segment of a level, or like would you do it a level at a time, or what was your process there?
Yeah, I would do it one level at a time generally, but because of the task tools, like all I needed to do was just save states and then load them.
So you said you were using BizHawk, which is like a program that you can go back and adjust inputs and frame-by-frame data about your gameplay. Did you ever do any of that as you were doing this task, or was it mostly just like it was all just like a segmented sort of thing, basically?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just I went through with save states. I had a save state pretty much every time I did a little bit, just because you can see it in a lot of places, especially early on.
Nice glide right there coming out of the key. That was barely catching the ledge. You know, you can really exploit. I think in a context of this, it's like I think we're gonna see a lot of like exploited. Ooh, amazing magic stairs. That's another thing we don't do in real-time runs. Cool strats. Cool strats.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be trying to point out as many of those as possible. Yeah, a lot of magic stairs. Did you do one right there as well, like right at the end?
Yeah, that's like God. The magic stairs at the end of this level seem like they should be so easy, and they really just are super finicky. It's very odd.
Yeah, so getting out of Dark Hollow right now, heading towards Sunny Hill.
Yep.
Yep, that's the level. I'm just like looking at some of this, and right now this looks very similar to like what you'd see from an actual like normal run.
Right.
But it's like the little tiny things that, again, I'm going to be trying to like grab those and point those out as we go through them. You'll also notice if you're used to watching my runs compared to watching this, it takes a little bit longer for John to load into a level and for the dragons to explode when he touches them. That's because he's playing on emulator, and there is a load difference there, which is why I play on PS2 fast disk speed. An interesting thing about tool-assisted speedruns is that a lot of the times, one of the goals of a tool-assisted speedrun is to be able to play it back on original hardware, which is something that I don't think has ever like really happened in a Spyro TAS before.
I don't think so. I don't think PS1 emulation is quite to that level yet. I could very well be wrong, but I don't think that's.
I don't even think anyone's tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's one thing you'll see like TASBot at GDQ, you know, playing back like some Super Mario World, like on an actual, you know, albeit like hard modded, but an actual SNES, for example. But again, that's something that we don't really see for like the more modern PS1 sort of era of consoles. It's kind of interesting. So, yeah. I don't know. Maybe that could be something for the future. To anybody who's watching this, you know, later down the line, if you're interested in tool-assisted super plays or making your own like TASs, look into some of these things, especially with Spyro. I think the TAS sort of progression of this game is still very much in its infancy, and what you're looking at right now is currently, I would say, like the only like real 120% TAS we have of this game. There are a couple other people, you know, here and there that are working on stuff sporadically, like Lucia and Nitrovsky, but, you know, I think this game has a really long way to go as far as finding out what the truly optimal strats are from a TAS and kind of gleaming information from that for the real-time speedrunning community as well. There's a real crossover there that I think it's almost like missing right now for Spyro, you know, and
yeah,
it's something.
Absolutely.
You look over at a game like Mario 64, and it's like the TAS community for that game, and all the different like modded levels and, you know, ROM hack communities are just like so huge. It's like they're almost their own separate community. And so for people who are interested in this game and interested in speedrunning, and if you're not like super into real-time speedruns, but you like the more technical aspects of optimizing the movement, TASing is definitely something I would say, if you're curious about, you should totally get into with this game. I think the more people we have involved, the better, and it just ends up in a better progression for this game. And you don't have to be a world record, you know, real-time speedrunner to help the speed progression of a game like this.
Yes, absolutely. I think like even just looking, excuse me, even just looking at this run, at this theory TAS here, like. It's kind of subtle, like as you're going along, but if you think about the gameplay that's on display here versus the gameplay that shows up like once we get to Magic Crafters, it's very clear that this was very much a learning process for me.
So you'd say this TAS sort of kind of increases in quality as it goes on?
Yes, absolutely.
How long did it take you to make this? I remember it took, like, when I saw you making this on stream, it was like around a month's worth of work, roughly?
Yeah, something like that. I was definitely hampered a bit by I made a couple of serious errors. So I had to redo Alpine Ridge twice because I missed the gem in the homeworld section beforehand and didn't notice.
Oh my gosh! And so you couldn't just make a separate segment for the homeworld. You had to go all the way back and do
that. And that might very well also be pointing to my own lack of experience with the TAS stuff. But as far as I could tell, there was no way to just go back because it's just like a linear input file. Like on this frame, play these inputs. But so as far as I knew, the only way to go back was basically play the video up until the point where I missed the gem, and then re-record over everything after that.
I see. Yeah, really, that whole concept really interests me about, like, when it comes to tassing a 3D. Oh, the magic stairs up to that. Oh.
Those are not as bad as you might think.
Do you think I should consider practicing those? I really want to get it from you, with some of these strats.
I mean, I don't know. I never really like the "is it worth it" questions, because that's kind of
it varies from person to person.
Decision, but
yeah, it's true.
Like, I'd certainly say, again, I did all of this playing at full speed, so it's all possible.
It's all possible on a controller, start to finish. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Yes,
we're not looking at like frame by frame. To be very clear.
Exactly. So it's not like everything you see here can be done. I mean, whether or not it's worth it, I mean, that depends on how much time you want to put into it, or where you're starting from.
That's such a good question, and it's so funny that even I'm asking that question as like a world record holder. You see that question get asked all the time in the Discord by like brand newcomers to the game. So it's a question you'll always ask yourself as you go on with speedrunning. It's never like, all right, I'm officially going for all the hardest stuff now, or like I have all the, you know what I mean? It's like you never finish that journey of like, is it worth it? It just keeps going deeper.
Like early on, something that saves a minute, super worth it. Something that saves 5 seconds, maybe not so much.
Ooh, okay, so single dogs here. This is a really interesting spot. Do you want to explain how the single dogs work?
Yeah, so basically, I'm actually not even 100% sure how the dog vanishes work. But
I don't think anyone is.
Basically, like, if you flame the dog at the peak of its jump, it jumps up again. And I guess that like puts it up too high, or when you charge away from it, you're too far away, something like that. But
yes, yeah. What I've noticed, it's a combination of getting the dog too high, as well as, like you said, getting far enough away from the dog that it sort of despawns in a way. Yeah. It's like two little conditions there that have to be met in order to cause the dog to despawn. Similarly to when it jumps off a ledge. What you can do with some of the dogs, you can bait them into jumping off the edge. It'll meet a condition so that they despawn, they disappear immediately, and that causes the gem to home in. That's obviously way faster than flaming them twice and grabbing the gem out of the air, which you would have to do otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a lot of these single dog vanishes I think are pretty straightforward to get down. The key is to release directional inputs until you charge away from the dog. Like when you trigger the dog to jump, just jump straight up underneath it. Don't like hold forward or left or right or anything.
Yeah, that's a helpful tool. I definitely have picked up on that with the one single flame dog that I do in my route. You kind of stand in front of him and then you wait for him. You don't try to like push the movement there,
Right. You got to be a little patient.
Yeah.
Patient.
That brings an end to Artisans there. We are big chilling on it. We are at, I know I don't have the timer going right here. I'll overlay it on the screen for my YouTube video, but we're looking at 12:05 on the timer right now. And again, he's on emulator, so like on console, this would be like way faster than probably maybe than any Artisan's ever done. It's arguable, but as we get further into the run, it'll get way beyond like what's like ever humanly been done when you account for load time differences between console and emulator.
Yeah, I think this came out. This was for since you, the viewers, can't see the timer. The Artisan's time came out to 11:51, which I think is I think that's equivalent to somewhere in the neighborhood of like an 11:20.
Yeah, 11:20x
perhaps. Somewhere in that vicinity. I can't remember exactly.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know because there's not a lot of like data that like specifically says like in 120% you'll have lost this much time when you enter Peacekeepers and this much time when you enter Magic Craft. No one has really done the dirty work with that, and it's also variable depending on where you touch dragons as well. So
yeah, I've done level modes. I've timed those, but the dragon modes are a whole different animal that I've never got around to timing.
So now we're seeing some like dive bomb strats here in this in Night Flight. So what's the thought process? I know what the thought process is behind that, but if you could explain it for everyone, John, like why do we dive bomb here?
It's kind of simple actually. The lower you are, the faster you fly, and you can actually see that. I think when I was doing this, I actually referenced a playlist that was put together of the community gold segments. So I referenced that in the flights and took a look at the final little timer, and that 20.8, I think, was, I want to say it was maybe a second faster than whatever video was in that playlist. So
yeah, so even from platform to platform, emulator to emulator, and even PS, I know in my experience, from PS2 to PS2 and disc to disc, these load times vary as well.
Yeah.
So it does taper off at a certain point where it's like, all right, you know, you're doing the fastest thing, and as long as your hardware isn't fucked up to some degree, then you're gonna be fine. But it's always gonna be the same. But there's so many like little variables that go into these load times that it's really hard to nail down. Like, all right, you're gonna save exactly this much time on console over emulator. We can't really say those types of things for sure for every situation.
I mean, it's my best guess. It's an estimate of sorts, but my best estimate is that it's somewhere between 2 and 2.5 minutes lost compared to
over the course of this 120.
Over the course of this 120 run on this specific setup
with BizHawk. Yeah.
Well, I timed Mednafin standalone, but
oh, I see.
BizHawk uses the Mednafin core, so I'm assuming that it's not going to be all that different. Also,
these magic stairs. Oh.
That is the only part of this theory test that was done at 50% speed. But I only did that. I only did that after I verified that I could do it at full speed. But
I see.
But like,
so you practiced it a bunch, and then you did the recording slowed down. I see.
No, well, legitimately, like those magic stairs took me an hour to put together just by themselves.
You can see Chips in the chat talking about the spin jump in this level. You just wait till we get to that part. We're not going to spoil it. We're not going to spoil it.
The movement in that section, it's good. It's real good. I didn't do this right.
Let's just say the spinning is for chumps, dude. Spinning is for chumps.
Sure is.
So cool. Yeah, and again, like little like movement things here or there. Like for example, you could have gone for the animation skip on the thief and maybe save a couple frames or something like that. But we're not really looking at that at that particular optimization. We're not really looking for the flaws in this run, but rather we're looking at the little things that we're not doing in real-time runs currently and seeing like, ooh, like can we do that? And I feel like that's kind of a lot of the thought process and motivation behind like watching a test like this. Look at that jump!
I love that movement. That movement is one of my favorite parts of this theory test.
It's doable, but it's again with all these things, everything you see here, it's doable, but it's really tough, you know. So it's
I don't know if that's really tough, but like
it's tough, man.
It's not. It's certainly not easy. Like,
definitely harder than the spin jump, which is already pretty tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Yo, Italy won. Yo, congrats, Italy. So, what's up, Mega Man? Or Megaloman? Mega Man? Mega Man! Oh my god. Early flame on the box. Well, so that's pretty much the main two differences with this level is the magic stair earlier in the level, the magic stairs earlier in the level, and the non-spin jump there. That's pretty much the two big things.
Yeah,
yeah.
This doesn't like start getting radically different from like a regular RTA run until we get to Magic Crafters, really. And again, like part of that is the levels in Artisans and Peacekeepers just aren't quite as involved. And
one thing I didn't make super clear at the get-go is that when we talk about magic stairs, we're talking about continuously charge jumping up a set of stairs, holding square and X to get upstairs. You bonk very easily doing that, so it's really like kind of PogChamp, you know, when we get that. It's like, whoa, you know, that's one of the cool things to watch out for in this test that you won't see a lot in real-time runs, especially not consistently. You'll see people maybe go for it, but it's very rare that you'd see it all strung together cleanly in a run.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic stairs in this theory test.
But yeah, I love it. It's as if we're just like watching like just a normal run. You know, that's why I love this like sort of like segmented approach. I like that you faded back like really far away there. I always get really close to the rocket when I go for that.
I think actually, anecdotally, I found that to be easier while doing runs, and that carried through into the TAS. But also, I actually think that
Nice flame charge.
that going back like that lets you get a better angle into the charge going towards the guys down
Another
below.
magic stare. Another magic stare. And I'll also point out that right before those magic stairs right there, all the gems that were in a big group right there were in a really nice position. That's a result of really lucky, we'd say, gem RNG that came from the strongbox that explodes from the rocket.
Yeah, and that is actually also something worth pointing out. When I made this, a theory task isn't like a super well-defined thing. What it entails varies from person to person, but the two rules that I set for myself were everything must be doable at full speed with a controller, and I'm not going to redo stuff just to get better RNG. So like if the gems there had fallen into just a terrible place, I would have played around it.
You would have just taken it. Yeah.
And you can actually see that really come through in Alpine, which is kind of a shame. The first go through of Alpine was super good, super clean. I was a huge fan of it, and then I had to redo it.
I see. And yeah, and that brings up like another, like the topic of like optimizing a task, and obviously this task we're not necessarily trying to optimize everything. So other names for tasks along this sort of thought process would be like a low tad. If you've ever watched ZFG's stream, you'll know that he shows off a lot of Ocarina of Time low optimization tool assisted demonstrations, which again is along the lines of what we're talking about here. This run that you're seeing is also similar to what you would call a segmented run, which kind of comes from a more like antiquated type of speed running that you see back on Speed Demos Archive back in the day. So there's a lot of names for the different types of tasks, especially when we're talking about not like a perfect tool assisted super play. And it's, it's whatever you want to call it. We're really just trying to demonstrate, or at least John here is demonstrating sort of like what's possible, for a human to do, and that's why he calls it a human theory task rather than a low tad or a segmented run or anything. I think, right?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. The whole idea of this was to provide some sort of resource for like, okay, this is roughly what a human is capable of. I mean, it's obviously very, very limited by my own abilities because I'm the one playing.
Now, that interesting like little movement there right after the double spring chest, you did something that I call the Wally strat, where you collect all those gems early.
Yep.
But you got a really interesting enemy AI manipulation from the mini Shemps, so that the far one didn't actually run as far as at least what I experienced in my runs. So I'm definitely going to experiment with kind of your movement there. That was like a little standout thing to me that I just noticed.
Yeah, because I did time this Shemp. I went through Shemp 3 times, actually, timing 3 different routes. This one, the one where you end down below the mama, and one where you end all the way at the start. Then this was the fastest by about a second.
Yeah, and I think Wally, when he also was like talking about this route in the Discord, said so much that it's like this is slightly faster. So I've switched over to this route, but again, like the weird thing is kind of like dealing with the little mini Shemp guys and cleaning up some of those early gems after the double spring chest.
Yeah,
there's an interesting little manipulation you did there, and I just wanted to kind of highlight that. And that little flame charge jump on the mama, I love that.
That's so
satisfying.
Such a good thing.
Yeah, really satisfying. All right, moving on to what's the next level? Ice Cavern. What's the next level? I've been speedrunning this for like 8 years. What is this game?
Hey, well, if we were calling like, it's the blue level with the ice.
Yeah, the blue level.
The blue level. Which one is that? Oh, yeah.
Yes. Cool. So Ice Cavern. Any like standout stuff to you in this level, or stuff that you don't really want to spoil?
Well,
no, go for it. Just spoil it. I don't even care. Go for it.
The inner cavern route, actually.
Oh, it's a little different. Do you do the early?
That one's been the subject of some heated debate.
Yeah, some people are getting it. Yeah, some people think that the old route is faster with like the 4 like pulls first, and then Saboom does the route where you get the dragon early and then bring it back around, and it really comes. It's another great example of like different routes. While in theory one might be technically faster than another by like a second or something, it really comes down to your execution and what you feel more comfortable with. That is the thing that you should choose when it comes to your own runs.
Yeah, and I mean, and my findings when I made this theory test were that the old inner cavern route was about a second faster.
I think Lucia found something similar to that recently as well.
Yeah, and but then when I went back and retimed it, I would take the retime with a grain of salt because I was a lot more thorough with this. Like I was save stating my way through this to make sure I was doing everything as well as I could do it. So I'd be more inclined to trust this timing, but the retime I did where I just like went through the whole segment a couple of times, basically like an IL, I found the Saboon route to be half a second faster.
And that jump, I mean, there's just so many like little different things you can do just in those last 10 seconds right there. Like for example, with the poles that he sideswiped against, you'll notice that he bonked into the last two, which is like arguably as fast as sideswiping them and grabbing them out of the air, but it kind of comes down to execution. And then same thing with the way that he jumped up onto the ledge after the final enemies before getting into the upper level. That's like there's going to be a lot of variability there from player to player.
Yeah, getting that ledge jump going up to the final section, like the way I did it in this theory, that's actually it's really hard to get it to be that good.
You jumped off of like one of the lowest parts of the geometry there. I actually set up further back, which obviously costs like maybe a half second or something. But
most people would.
Consistent. Yeah.
This is a cool strat. I like this strat a lot.
Oh wow! I never even know. I think I saw that the first time I watched this, but I forgot all about it. So cool.
That's a great strat.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely look at that.
Yeah, it's a little finicky, but it's not too bad.
Charge jump down to grab the red. That little bit of getting that little red gem right there and just taking a straight line to get that red that you can't see until the last moment and jumping early. Yeah. I love all like the pre-thought behind that movement there. It's such a small thing, but
and it's something
when it works out, it's nice.
When it comes to a real run, that just comes down to you have to trust your movement. Really, you just have to have complete confidence in what you're doing. But what I could do when I was making this was I could do the movement, go back and see if I got everything, and then load the stave I made after getting the movement. So it's quite a bit easier for me to do it here.
All right, coming to the end. And again, like we're not reset. Oh, you got pretty good RNG on these guys. I'm blown away you didn't reset any of your segments for this RNG. It's really good.
Yeah, it really this Alpine makes me a bit sad. It's
okay. So yeah, what happened in this next split here?
Yeah, well, so what happened was that I missed one of the gems up by that druid behind the wall the first time. So I went through, had what I thought was a really, really nice Alpine. Then I got into high caves and I was like, wait a second, this gem count is not correct.
Cool little homeworld movement. I like the way you navigated that first corner, kind of landing right before the lava pool.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It's a way that I don't do it.
And that's really just what a lot of this time save from this theory task comes down to, is just cutting the little corners, taking a slightly more direct line.
Yeah, like again, to give like a kind of more like experienced runner's history, or like a perspective when I'm watching a run like this, or just anybody else's run, whether it's a TAS or not. I'm not like necessarily looking at like, oh, is he doing good or bad? But I'm looking at, oh, what are the little like differences that he does that I would have never thought of, and it gets so tiny and so small with like something that happens in like a moment.
Like landing on that ledge slightly above the ground so you can get the flame out just a little bit earlier.
Oh my god, those swipes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, don't try that. Don't try that. It's so easy to just launch yourself off the edge with that.
So cool. Alright, let's see what we got here.
But yeah, I think this was really where it all went wrong. Getting that.
You turn around very early there, like right on the edge of the druid's aggro. That was actually ballsy.
So this strat right here, actually, this is one of the cooler ones, I think. How to handle those three big wizards down below the stairs. because that strat was not my own idea. That strat came from a friend of mine who is a very experienced TASer, but doesn't run this game at all.
You kill the first guy, wait for the gem, and then kill the other two and bring it back. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You kill
I do that same strat.
Oh, with the second two guys with one flame?
Oh, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I use a third flame on the last guy to hit the box, so that way I can fade back, turn around the gem as it comes out the air. Which there's merit to both of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I timed a bunch of different ways of getting there, and even though actually, if you want to be specific about it, none of them actually save time because I had to wait for the stairs anyway.
So hey, here's a room I wanted to talk to you about. So you found that this route is like that inner room versus the other way around, where you do the damage abuse on the fireworks is a little faster, right?
I think if my memory serves, it was about half a second faster. It might have been 1 second. And I think the reason for that is, I believe when I see most people do that strat, they glide out to the fireworks chest rather than just going all the way down, charging into it.
That's what Saboom does, correct.
And I think that might be a big part of the reason why people would think it's slower. That's speculation on my part, but
yeah, no, I mean we're definitely we're not saying any of these time differences are for sure. This is just in your experience and your timing. That's not to say it's definitive or final.
Yeah, I mean I will absolutely stand by the timing. Well, most of the timing that I did on this theory test, but it's still fundamentally me playing, right? So there's that adds, variability because I'm only so good at the game, So there's maybe little things that I could be doing that I'm not, or something like that.
Nice, that supercharged ramp, for example. There's kind of a nice. I like how you waited with that jump right there to the platform. I always do you do a bigger supercharged jump. That's the more time you're spending in the air, right? That's legit seconds that you're losing. That I would be losing.
That was a super tight jump, honestly.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And with that particular part, the tighter of a jump you do, the harder it is to do the pivot turnaround on top of the gem fountain. So that makes it extra kind of impressive in that way.
Yep. This is one of the cooler levels in the theory test, I think.
Yeah, so we're going an unconventional route right off the bat. Normally we'd be going to the left at the start. Yeah. So we're going straight to the... I don't remember this. Are we going straight to the supercharge here? Okay, we're cleaning out... Yeah, you got to clean out this area first, and then it's crazy supercharge time.
Yep. And no need to jump over the bridge.
Yeah, yes, good point. But, again, to play devil's advocate here, by jumping at the start of the at the end point of the point that you did the full hop at to get that supercharge takes more time than the one that's a little slower that requires a jump at the bridge. Yeah, so we trade time losses in that way.
And what I definitely remember is actually I had a really hard time getting that supercharge over the bridge without stopping or without jumping. So there's certainly, there's probably a consistency argument to be had there.
For sure.
And that's totally valid. Losing that supercharge would be
okay, now here we go. This is way not like what anyone does. Here we go. This is what we call this is the true bike caves, actually, from when this strat was for...
I had to redo this whole segment, actually. I had to redo this whole supercharge because I missed something in a really unfortunate spot the first time I did it.
So it's really tough to supercharge through these guys, and it's because of these little tornado wizards right here. Getting them without falling off, especially this one right here. Very nice. John made that look easy, but that's really tough to do, all of that.
I save stated probably every time I'm in the air. It's a pretty safe assumption that I made a new save state to do this. So
you did use multiple save states throughout this particular level.
I used multiple save states in the course of making this. While I was doing this, I think I had a backup save state at the start of a supercharge ramp, just in case anything went tragically wrong later on, and I couldn't just revert back to my previous mid-air save state as I was going through it.
How much time do you think this route saves versus like the current like Bike Caves 120% route?
Truth be told, I don't know. I don't know what the current bike.
Yeah, you haven't really
is.
did a lot.
When I think bike caves, this is what I'm thinking.
Or just in general. Yeah, I know. There's like multiple definitions of bike caves, and it gets really muddy when we start to apply it to 120%. There's the any percent bike caves route, which is like the original bike caves. But then there's like the going over the castle, like what you did, which is like another like bike caves. You know, there's a lot of muddiness to the definition of what bike caves is.
Yeah. Well, what I can say is when I made this, I believe the best segment in the community best segment playlist for high caves was a 321. I could be wrong, but I think it was a 321, and this was a 325.
Oh wow! And then with
emulator loads and with getting the extra stuff in the home world.
So that's got to be at least like 5 or 10 seconds like of a difference there.
I'd say that range is probably correct, but truth be told, I was not thorough when I did high caves.
It's hard to pin down. Again, huge disclaimer. Anytime we talk about timing differences between like strats and platforms and stuff, it's like it's hard to pin down, you know, because of all the different platforms of different players' executions, and with us not really with the community as a whole not having the clearest possible picture of what perfectly optimal movement looks like in this game. Again, there's not a huge very quick wizard proxy, by the way.
I tried myself off right there. I tried so hard to get a proxy off the first wizard, but I couldn't make it happen.
It's so weird how that first wizard like just doesn't let you do it, but still that you get it from the second wizard is like that quick. It's actually fucking insane.
Yeah, that's a very hard proxy, just because not only you got to get the proxy, but you also have to get it at a particular angle, and you can't go too high. So getting the proxy that early is kind of
nice harsh angle. Something that people probably wouldn't think about there is, oh, by the way, can you like turn down your speakers a little bit? I can hear myself in your mic.
I am wearing headphones, so I don't know where that's coming from.
That's fine. So another thing is like when we do the Wally strat on that last little island area before this, the first supercharge. There's a really like kind of interesting thought of how hard you push against the wall to get like those blue gems, and the harder you push, kind of the more likely you are to kind of end up sailing off the side and falling and dying.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to flop out of that supercharge.
Yeah, so the fact that he took it so steep there against the like perpendicular against the wall was like particularly impressive.
I also spent a lot of time up here actually with this thief because I never really liked this method. It didn't feel as good as it could have, but
but it's like what other option do we have? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's definitely a few moments like that throughout the game. Now, what about going around Lucas like this way versus doing a fade back roll into him? Like around which way do you think?
Yeah.
Like, do you have an opinion about that?
This way, I found it to be faster by frames.
Okay, so, and that's I think that makes sense. You know, you continue your momentum around. I mean, doing the jump fade back, I mean, seems slower. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a relatively easy frames to get.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as far as consistency is concerned, it's worth it for the frames.
Yeah, like it's free frames, right? This flight. I think there was something weird that went on with this flight. Like, I think because my standard for flights was I was trying to match whatever this game timer was in the best segments playlist, and I just don't think I could do it in this flight. Or maybe it was Icy Flight.
Wow, that was an amazing turn right there. I'm blown away you didn't flop. That was insane.
But yeah, I mean,
really good speed
I've never actually been great at flights, so that's probably just a limitation of this TAS in general.
No, and you can see that the approach, I think, with you with these flight levels is that you're going for maximum momentum and maximum speed, which is, you know, granted at the cost of straight line movement. So there is a trade-off there that you have to find the happy medium between to get the best flight times, I think.
Right, and then there's also consistency, like getting the best flight time possible. Like, you really got to be abusing that flame distance.
Yeah, correct. Which it just gets more and more inconsistent the harder and harder you push your flight times. So in a real time like 120 run or any percent run, for example, you really shouldn't be pushing the flights like that hard, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But because I could, save states, no reason not.
Yeah, in this context, it's worth like exploring the depth of flight levels. Love that double. That was really nice.
I tried so hard to make that double, to charge out of that double onto the next platform. I just could not do it.
Oh, saving that wizard for a second. Interesting. And this one as well. I like this little route here. This is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and this cycle is...
Yes, and then the super quick cycle. Yep.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But again, that's like, you're doing that blind. So... Well, I did it blind. I'm sure people the camera movement could do better.
Yeah, like for me, it's like because the platform movement is global. In my case, having done this level like very many times, I like that little jump you did off from the box there. But anyways, and the right side fireworks. There's plenty of stuff to talk about in this level. I love it.
This is a good level, yeah.
Yeah, this was a really good level. In general, with TASs, this is a really cool level. I remember Nitrovsky working on a TAS of this level as well.
Yeah, I actually got a link to a OneDrive video of his any % Magic Crafters TAS.
Yes, that is by far the coolest TAS video that exists of this game is Nitrovsky's Magic Crafters any %.
So I actually did pick a few strats out of that for Blowhard in particular, but I think for Magic Crafters in general. Also, for reference, for those who cannot see the timer, Magic Crafters time was a 40:01. So we're still actually a fair bit behind really good real-time run done on PS2 with fast disk speed. And also, actually, this homeworld movement, I found this homeworld movement to be half a second faster.
Yes, versus going around the side first and then cleaning up that stuff after turn.
Yeah, I think in a real-time run, going around the back has a strong argument, just because if you go around the back, you will
get extra fodders.
Half the sparks, yeah.
Yep. But I will say, from a more from an experienced runner's perspective, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it not to be afraid of having blue sparks in Bog.
Oh yeah,
if you take, you know what I'm saying? It's there comes a point, I think, in your progression as a runner of this game where, you're not scared of the enemies in Misty Bog or things like that. It's you'll take a damage. You'll take a damage here or take a damage there. A blue sparks in Misty Bog, you'll take a damage. If you give yourself that buffer, but. You're thinking in your head, it's well, if I'm not fucking up that terribly, it's not going to happen. Or if it does, I'll know where the fodders are. There are a few fodders in that level. Well, the one in particular after the start.
Yeah.
And I mean, spots to death abuse and things like that. So it's you have to risk it for the biscuit, I think, when it comes to Spark stuff, when you have more experience with this game.
Yeah, and that just goes back to the is it worth it conversation.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And
for the sub, JX.
So, funny story about Terrace. At the time, I thought I was saving an additional cycle here over the God cycle, but unfortunately, it turns out that's not the case.
It just is the God cycle, basically.
Yeah, but it's so much harder to catch on emulator because of the dragon loads. Look at the specific movement that I have.
Oh my god,
that was the only way I could catch that cycle. Nothing,
so awesome.
Nothing else worked. So
that's so awesome. And then here's another strat difference here is grabbing that fan chest early, but it's really only a time save if you're on a fast cycle, basically, because if you're not on a fast cycle, then the electricity guy will give you room, and not give you room if you go for it early. So you have to know your cycles if you decide to go for that. Right.
Yeah, realistically, if you're running on emulator, you're never gonna catch this cycle. Those
really
magic stairs are so hard, and also think about all the specific movement that I had to do earlier in the cycles.
Oh, wow. What a cool flame charge. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, I think I actually messed that up because I think I was going for a flame charge earlier, but I got it afterwards. I was like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't lose time.
Grabbing these early. What are your thoughts about this?
I found it to be faster.
You know what? I might start fucking doing it, honestly, because I'm kind of tired of playing around with these, like, oh, I miss a flame or miss a fucking, you know, it's really hard to get them after optimally, no matter what strat you do.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. Oh, I did skip that first boat. I didn't think I did. Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing that as well. I like skipping the first boat here. It's like not even a time difference, but it's still cool.
Yeah, this flight, like, ooh.
Why, you're like judging the flying?
I'm judging the flying. I mean, you know, you create something and all you can see are the flaws, you know?
No, yeah, no, and in my mind, it's like, I get a flight like this in a run, I'm like, oh, this is great, this is a great flight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like, so it shows a real difference in, like, perspective there of, like, what we're trying to do in a flight level. You know?
Yeah.
Context is everything.
100%.
I love how you just went for them, like, as early as possible. Normally, you'd wait at the end there for the planes to come up a little earlier. And do them in a slightly different order at the end, so you can like end on the. It was really ballsy moving at the end, and I really appreciate that. Saving some frames.
The 2 green gems there, on the subject of ballsy movement.
Oh, yeah, scary to do those quick. If you leave the 2 greens and try to get them quickly while jumping into the wind tunnel, that's a very scary move. I've seen many runs die to that. I've had runs die to that. I've seen Chris and Saboom both lose many runs to that. Yo, thanks for the sub, Josh. Great to see you, man.
I cannot remember this bog whatsoever. I don't remember anything that happened here.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Although what I do remember is... Okay, no, I remember hearing at one point that it was faster to just kill all those enemies and collect all the gems afterward. And I found that to not at all be the case, but I could see that being like a pattern-dependent thing. Like if one of them like lurches at you early.
Yeah, you're talking about the shrubs, like the first shrubs you see, the group of 4, yeah.
And then
yeah, they really do vary. They do vary based on the AI. What were you gonna say?
The chest. You know the chest back behind the tree with the life? You can actually jump on top of the tree and just go straight off from there, but I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you didn't do that here. Yeah. Right. And then there's a strat there where you can charging. You might not know this. You can do a charging jump to collect both of those gold. Do you know that one?
I've seen that one, but I think...
Oh, that one's so cool. That one's so cool.
I think that strat's newer than the theory TAS. I could
be wrong about that. It definitely is. Yeah, for sure. Oh, wow. Insane movement there.
Dude, that movement was just that movement was just to keep that frog in the back rather than having him like go all the way forward.
Yeah, I see. That actually makes sense. If you'd have stopped, then that second frog would have been like in a less optimal spot. That actually is an interesting point.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't redo stuff for better RNG, but like the frogs and the enemies in this level are manipulatable.
Manipulatable. Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Really interesting, man. And especially that little section there before that dragon. It's like the enemy AI is like, it's all about the AI manipulation there.
In this level, 100%. I had to redo
just
this.
In general.
Like, I messed this up really badly, and I can't remember. I had to
and there's also the jump off the side.
Yeah, I don't think I knew about that. I think that existed when I made this, but I may have just not known about it. I can't remember exactly.
Let's see what this island looks like.
Oh, I do remember.
Yeah, a lot of contention. Yeah, let's see what it looks like.
I go the other way just because...
Oh, this is faster. No, I agree. I think going this way is actually the future meta of Guantan, because the thing about it is if we all go to the left for safety and turn it clockwise, but the problem with that is it saves the last enemy to be like the first one that you see like
Right,
the
it's
furthest one
moving
away from the
around.
dragon, basically, right? It forces you to do like a full like cross to the end of the room and then go all the way back to the start of the room and then go all the way back, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas going counterclockwise, it allows you to do a smaller 360 around the room.
Yeah,
But
and
it's obviously more risky though.
and the reason I did it that way was just because the enemy patterns were not working out, going the other direction. I was constantly getting hit. I remember that now.
Yeah. Oh, love the noise these guys make.
Yeah.
Little tiny magic stare there.
I remember this movement too. Like,
Oh wow, that surf, so cool. And I call those surfs where like you oh, this right here. This is a whole different route than what anyone does here. That early jump right there, very tough to catch.
it's
but,
really hard. I
sick
actually am second guessing if it's faster or not. Looking at it again,
it looks faster to me. I mean, but again, like you could see, like to any just like random like speedrun viewer who's not super like into this game per se, it's like we are kind of going by like by feel a lot of the time. We're going by like, all right, this feels faster. It feels like I could do this faster, so I'm gonna go with this route. Versus like, all right, I tasked out this route versus that route, and this one is objectively faster. There's not a lot of that type of interaction when it comes to the discourse in this game.
and that was very much a part of the reason why I wanted to make this.
Yeah, I think that's a very very valiant motivation to make this. Again, I think on behalf of like anybody who's interested in running 120%, this is such a valuable tool, I think, to people who are like curious about the run or just it's just entertaining, you know, to watch a run like this.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, as much as this was kind of frustrating to make at times, like having to redo whole levels, but like it was a really enjoyable experience overall.
Shout out to Rotis. Where are my Rotis fans at? All right, and I'm guessing no full hop in this. Yeah. Ooh, but do we jump off the end? Yes, we do.
You like have to jump off the end of that, I think.
Well, so what I do is I full hop charge into it, and I don't jump off the end. And I used to do that with this one, but you don't have to do that with this one.
Well, the reason I did it here actually was
it's for this strat.
To make sure I could keep the supercharge there, so I could do this.
So awesome. And what do you say? You did do some timing with this. It like saves a few frames or something like that.
1 second.
So cool. So dope.
Super not worth that. This is
super risky.
Going for. It's
super risky, but super cool.
And actually,
the stone knot.
It's really hard to get all the gems down at the bottom with it.
Yeah, when you're coming back down, because you have to like take like a weird sort of like falling off the first time and then like bring it back around. I could imagine that you would always miss like 1 or 2 of those like blues or greens.
Yeah, specifically those 2 5s that are stacked right on top of each other.
Yeah, those gems are really close to each other, which actually makes things confusing for Sparks. The closer together gems are, the harder it is for Sparks to like to grab them and see them.
Yep.
Like when they're all like in like a relatively close vicinity. Like see how those reds are spaced apart? Sparks can like individually grab those a lot more clearly.
Yeah, it's easy to have Sparks grab like 2 out of 3 gems or something. And this was the best route that I found for the
out of bounds. Yeah, I do this. I do the same. I do the same thing, but what was I think? Yeah, I do the same route. I think when I do out of bounds, basically. I think we do it with slightly different execution, but it's the same basic route.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many possible variations there. I'm not even confident that that's the best. That was, of all the things I found,
there's definitely contention about what the best... Yeah, there's a lot of contention about what the fastest, like, possible 120% route is here. And there's ones that incorporate, like, a proxy from the Banana Boys that the first enemy throws at you against the left side when you first enter the level. As well as, like, contention between, like, the different out-of-bounds routes that you'll see, like, that we're seeing here. So there's a lot of options when it comes to this level, from an optimal TAS standpoint.
I think I saw that proxy actually when I was making this, and I decided not even to bother with it, and I cannot quite remember what the justification was.
But it's so funny because like because when it's like a real thing, bringing it back to like real-time speedruns, it's when I'm on a good pace, I'm not going for any of that, because it's like, because there's so much like question marks and contention and like questionable like execution differences, and it's like maybe it's faster, and for the amount of like, you know, things that need to go right in order to get like a proxy like that or to get the out of bounds, on a good pace, I'll definitely like not go for any of those, right? It's like, well,
Yeah.
the safest thing might be the fastest, you know? It's that type of thought process.
Yeah, I mean that's the consistency argument. Like, and it's a very valid argument. But you know, after a certain point, you know, you have to give up. You know, you start giving up more and more consistency to squeeze out the seconds.
And it's like I talked about this a bit in my JDQ run, but like the like by virtue of this game being like a 3D platformer with such open level design, I think it starts at its that jump. Let me cut myself off. That jump is so sick. That is such a sick jump. Otherwise, you'd have to go.
Jump?
Yeah. Tell me about that jump. How many tries did that take you?
Fewer than you might think. It's finicky. It's not.
It's
an easy
finicky,
jump, but it's
like
also
it's
not
one of
like,
those when you get it. It's just like the one later on, like right next to Metalhead. It's just like that. It's like it's not hard per se, but it's like you're not gonna get it like 100% of the time. You know.
Right.
That's annoying.
Absolutely. Yeah. This Dreamweavers also for reference, we left Beast Makers at 5430. So.
Which is really good. Even on a PS2 fast disk speed, that's like near world record pace as reference. And this is on an emulator. At this point, we're like, like a minute like behind just from load times.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we're not in faster than anyone has ever achieved territory yet, but
we're close. I think we're like
there.
This is like maybe on par or a little faster than Saboom's like best pace out of Beastmakers, which I think is like a 50. Which I think is his PB, not his current PB, but 53:40, something like that. I think is his best pace, 53:42 if I'm not mistaken. And this is around that.
Yeah, so we still got some time to make up before we really start pulling ahead of the best RTA runs. I had to redo this level 3 times as well. This was really annoying. Because first time I missed the gem in the home world, second time I missed the gem in the level.
Now I imagine you could just do it in immediate. Oh yeah, or the high one. Yep. That's why you got to do that. I was gonna say, like, I imagine you could just do like an immediate proxy without taking the whirlwind on the wizard and get far enough to get over to the grassy area.
Yeah, I think you definitely could, but I don't think you get the gem if you do that.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, you could. No, actually, you could kill him and get the... talking from a TAS perspective, like, you could get the gem and kill him and do the proxy.
Yeah, if you want to be fairly specific, like this proxy setup here, it can take you straight over the wall, so you can skip all of this, but...
So that's the most optimal thing you could do in a TAS, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not... I opted not to do that because that requires, like... some specific movement leading up to the proxy, and because that's like not documented or anything in the slightest, I did not consider it to be the sort of thing that belongs in a theory test at this point in time.
Basically, Farnia and I, this was like, you know, maybe over a year ago now, we're taking apart that like wizard proxy and trying to figure out how we can get more, especially Farnia. I know he was like experimenting with like doing a roll against the wall and stuff like that.
Yeah, I asked him about it actually.
Yeah, and kind of it's like so precise. Again, kind of getting back to the topic I cut myself off on earlier, is that movement in a game like this, in like an open like design like 3D platformer, it can be so precise that it's like even when we're like looking at it with a microscope, like with an emulator, it's like it's almost impossible to pin down like the exact parameters we need to get the over the wall proxy like that particular scenario.
Yeah.
So that's still one of those things that's kind of up in the air. It can't really necessarily be recreated like or at least it hasn't been. Again, there isn't a real TAS community for this game, so anyone who's watching this, like, explore that wizard proxy. See if you can TAS out, you know, an over-the-wall wizard proxy, and then make like a Haunted Towers IL. You know, like that's like just a cool idea right there, and it definitely is an eye-opening thing for people who even aren't TASing.
This movement here to get all those gems.
That was really fast.
So that
was really fast.
That is actually something that's completely and totally viable RTA.
Oh wow! So like with charge jumps, yeah, I saw. That was wild.
I mean, I used to do exactly that when I did runs, right?
Wow.
The key is to flame charge both the little wooden chest and the fan chest. If you flame charge both of those, you're like 90% of the way there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Interesting. I didn't pay super close attention to that just now, but yeah, that's interesting. Because the alternative is that you flame the 2 spring chests and then walk a lot, and then flame the metal chest, the 2 spring chests, pardon me, and then flame the fan chest.
Yeah.
Flame charge the fan chest. And then even with all the walking, you can still miss gems that way.
Yeah, that movement is honestly like, it's quite a bit easier than it looks. Which is kind of an unusual thing in this theory test.
Yeah, right. Yeah, usually it's the other way around. Just in this game in general, it's like doing a tight jump like seems so easy. Even when you're the one playing, it's like, you know, you'd be bashing your head against the wall for hours trying to do like a proxy, and it's like when you get it, it's like, oh, that was so easy. Like, what's the big deal? It's like any glitch in any video game is almost like that to a degree.
Yeah, and then eventually, you know, you practice it and it just becomes second nature.
Yeah, and then you find the parameters to make it easy, you know.
I think I struggled with Icy Flight a bit as well. I can't quite remember why though. Does this
a nice low flying there, very cool. I love seeing low flying because I don't fly low like this, so it's a really cool like perspective shift for me.
I don't know. This looks totally fine to me, so I don't know why I have memories of like, oh, something went wrong here. Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing obviously wrong here to me.
Oh, I like that you opted not to do the bridge. You still went down. That's actually genius. I might do that in the future. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. I started doing the down to the tracks flame or animation cancels just because I wasn't good enough at the flight to actually get it under the bridge. But it turns out even if you can get it under the bridge, like you're already right
still
down
faster.
there by the tracks. So
yeah. Let's see what Lofty looks like. Charge jump at the you can charge jump at the start there.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, but I didn't.
Yeah, I invented that, you know, don't worry about it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, this island was really awkward because I came into this level with green sparks.
Yeah, but you got lucky to get sparks in time and killing those enemies early. That's hard to do.
Yeah, getting that last balloon guy quickly like that was surprisingly specific.
Now you can get an early shot here, which it doesn't look like you set up. Notice the little weight here.
Yeah, no, I actually never.
And then I remember around this time, Xando Toaster was getting really into a like going around like wide with, instead of doing a damage abuse, is doing like a wall glide off of the red marksman guy's head.
Oh yeah,
really weird stuff.
I looked at that.
Or not a wall glide, but
it was still a damage boost. It's like you still bonk, but you bonk off
his head or something.
Yeah, and you get the damage boost from there.
Okay, huge thing. So he's doing a Saboom route here, but he did not kill the balloon guy that he just passed right there. This makes the route like a lot more difficult, and so we're gonna see how that kind of pans out here once he gets to the supercharge ramp after this section.
It's also a lot faster, so.
It is faster for sure. You know, collecting that balloon guy like early, like I think a real-time runner would have just before this section. It definitely wastes a few seconds, no doubt about it.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that I saved time by hitting the edge of that whirlwind for the jump, but yeah, it's like more of a technical demonstration, I suppose.
Let's see how this supercharges. Does he curve it to the... Okay, so going to the right, that jump is insanely hard. John made that look easy.
Yeah,
now, some things to note. Yeah, and then this is the Saboom route. Some things I want to note real quick before you go on, John, is that JX came up with like a couple of interesting routes, like reroutes here, where you can go when you get to the fan chests in this section ahead of you here. You can actually go into the castle and do like kind of a reverse, like counterclockwise castle with the supercharge and continue the Saboom strat. And with the fat guy that I was mentioning earlier, you can also do a flame charge jump on him to save a few of those seconds that you would otherwise be losing. That was an insane jump right there to get up to that side. That
jump looks tighter than it is, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. And it's like grabbing those greens first, because normally like I would avoid those greens in that little middle of the castle area. But you grab them first so that way you can do a tighter jump there.
I found that movement in that, like in the toilet bowl room, I found that was like 20 frames faster. So, and also interestingly, actually, I found that this strat doesn't save time. I found this to be almost exactly the same time as the damage boost, but I still went for this because I think this.
You went for the early flame. Sorry, I wasn't looking. You went for the early flame on the fireworks chest.
Yeah, and the reason I did that was because even though it's not faster, I think it more closely mirrors what a human would be doing in this route. Just because I think preserving the sparks going into Dark Passage is a very good idea. Like
again, with sparks. With me, I don't do that, and I have more than one reason for that. Actually, if you just say, and again, this is just two different perspectives. It's not to say I'm right, you're wrong. That's not what we're saying here. It's like we're both valid. But the reason why I don't do the early flame on the fireworks chest outside of Lofty Castle is because A, it can cause a game crash, and B, well, I mean, I guess B is like, I'm gonna make the argument that it's like a little bit maybe faster if you like side swipe the fireworks chest on the right and get a nice jump charge out of it on the descending gem. And finally, as like the C, and then this is where like me being like a top player, I guess, kind of is relevant, is it doesn't bother me that I have a low sparks level on sparks count on this level, similarly to the Beastmaker's homeworld when we were talking about that earlier. So again, it's a difference of perspective there if you want to be like safer with your sparks, but there is a trade-off, I think, of like of risk with like a game crash there.
Yeah.
Everything's a trade-off, you know. I'm blown away that you managed to collect those greens. It looked like you missed one. Yeah. You must have barely hit it with the tail. That's so insane.
Yep. I think I got it so Sparks grabbed it like as he was on the way back from grabbing the fodder.
Very impressive turtle movement here. It's very lucky that they you didn't have to bait out the second turtle in this area. That's normally what I do, is I bait out his shot so that way I don't get the like descending like damage from him that shoots me up in the air and loses a bunch of time.
Yep. In this, there was a pretty glaring error in this section. It's kind of bad. Whoops.
Nice grabbing that gold gem and charging onto the. Oh yeah, the doggies, you mean?
No, the stair where I just like stood on the stair for a second right after the.
To me, that's like so like I didn't even notice that. That's so funny. It's like the again perspective difference there. You know?
Yeah.
I think glaring error. I think like 3 bonks in a row. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean,
right. So
that was just one of those things where like I didn't even notice it.
Nice double. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The descending flame, like fade to the side to get that double was insane.
I also found
this is faster.
For sure.
Yeah, this is faster. Yeah, I've heard that from multiple sources.
Like I could see it being a thing where like it depends on which cycle you're at, like with regards to that last dog and such at the back. Like I could see that argument, but I didn't test it thoroughly enough because I was only on 1 cycle when I got here.
Yeah, there's definitely like an execution difference argument to be made of which is faster, but it seems the general consensus is grabbing the red guys early is the way to go, just from the few timings that people have done. And I don't do that, by the way, in my runs, so there's like something for me to improve upon. Delayed Sparks grab. See, I didn't even notice that. Again, Alex is seeing things that I don't even.
I thought he was talking about that green gem, but maybe not.
All right, so
It's a fun level to go through. As much as I think this route is really dumb,
you think this route's dumb?
I really do.
I like that double, by the way. Sick double.
Oh.
I've wondered about that double. I think with this route, that double makes a lot more sense, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like, with everything else that I did, like, you know, and you'll see all the stuff that I did in this level, but like with all of this, I got this to be like 2 seconds faster.
Nice double again.
So, and I'm also a little biased because like that jump up to the pillar, that's got to be my least favorite jump in the game. I hate that jump.
Oh, you mean with the two enemies on the little platforms? How they'll push you off? Is that what you're talking about?
No. But you know, like if you do this route, you don't have that pillar lower.
Oh, you're talking about the Wally flop. Yeah.
Like that is one of my least favorite jumps in this game.
No, I definitely waited. I waited as long as I could have before incorporating this route, and I think for where I'm at in the game now, it's like I really just can't deny that it's like a faster route. It is more satisfying, I think, when everything goes well, and that's like another motivation there. Interesting. Whoa, interesting cleanup here. Whoa, that blew my mind. Grabbing that gem, because you can't flame charge that guy, but I love that you grabbed that gem out of the air early. I'm gonna mess around with that, and then sick flopless right there. Very tough, but very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I set that up going back a little bit. I set that up just so I could do the flame charge double because it was super sick.
Yeah, and I noticed that also you left the two boxes there right before that little jump up to the pillar, which again, like for me in a real-time run, it's like I don't want those boxes there so that my setup is more consistent.
Right.
But in this, wow, that charge. Speaking of like more consistent, less
Yeah,
consistent, that charging jump. Don't do that
at all.
Even doing that wall glide with a full hop charge glide, like as like strongly as possible, it's still a tough one.
It's finicky.
That's insane. Yeah, very finicky. At the end of a run, too, by the way. We're like near the end of the run. Imagine you're on world record pace and you're going for some of these strats now. Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
This is where things like really start to, on the topic of like consistency, risk reward, you know.
And so we're leaving Dreamweavers at the 110.54 mark. And as far as I know, I don't think
that's never been done.
Has gotten a 110 Dreamweavers yet.
Yeah, that's never been done yet.
So
yet. There we go.
So
yeah, 110.54 on BizHawk, by the way, which really like might actually be like a 109 at this point.
Oh,
on a console.
Easily. It arguably at this point it might even have been a 108. I don't know exactly.
Maybe. And for reference, my world record as well as I think some of Saboom's best runs get low 111s to end Dreamweavers.
Yeah, that's about what I had in my head for that comparison, so glad to have it confirmed. Cove. I remember Cove being one of the most awkward levels to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cove is just awkward. I mean,
it is, but I mean...
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This level is so heavily reliant on gem RNG, not just for like TNT trick and some of the the weird like enemies near the end, but even with every one of these big fat TNT guys, you need their gem to pop up in the air in such a way that you can grab it out of the air, and it's not necessarily the case for all of them that's going to happen. So there's the potential for any one of these fat guys to fuck you over on like 2 or 3 seconds, even though you do the correct movement.
And then the other thing that I had to deal with this is none of the guys throwing barrels were on the cycles I am used to, because I'm so far ahead of the normal cycles.
Yeah, interesting point. Yeah, for sure. And again, for me, like changing perspectives here for a sec. For me, I would know exactly what cycle I'm on here. Like this looks like the cycle that I would be on, So So that's an experience difference right there. You start to learn those cycles as the more you play. But again, for John, and he's making a TAS here, it's like that you can see how that adjusts the execution. And what the fuck with that early enemies there? That was a really interesting route.
So the reason I did that was because if I did it the other way, the guy at the end wouldn't get blown up.
Oh, okay. It's like with this particular segment you had, it's just you just were fucked on the cycles basically. Yeah, on it's his idle cycle, and it's like when you reach him at a certain point, it's impossible to get it, just for where he is in his idle animation.
Yep. And then I didn't think about this at the time, but I should have just gone into this tunnel first, then to the key tunnel.
Oh, really?
I should have at least tested it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense if you're doing keyless. I never really thought about that. Surely there's some thought process to why nobody's ever done that. But I don't know. Maybe we're missing something there.
I mean, I don't know how many people actually just straight up.
Right? It's like again, it's like how many people are exploring these little tiny things in this game? Not very many. There's not a huge sample size of people trying stuff like that. So it's like something that seems obvious to us, oh, you should try doing that left side first if you're going to do keyless. It's like, surely there's a reason why we don't do that. It's like there might not be, straight up.
And if you're into your cove segment times, that was just about a 3:15 cove.
Wow. I don't even know segment time. I think a good cove is like a 3:30 for me, but I don't know.
I'd buy that. I think that's what I remember.
Sub 3:30, hopefully,
in that ballpark.
I might be wrong about that. I don't know segment time. I'm so not a nerd. If you guys know anything about me, I'm not a nerd when it comes to splits at all. I do everything in my power to not think about the exact second that's going by right now.
Yeah.
And you flame charge the guy there and grab the 2 boxes with a double, it seemed like, which is actually really tough to do without accidentally hitting him.
Yeah, actually getting a flame charge on that guy and making it faster was actually really hard. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's very weird movement there. Nice. Ooh, the magic. Oh, I cry every time I see it.
There's so many magic stairs. You should. I think you'll recognize what we're doing here.
Let's see. I actually don't remember if this is my route or another type of route.
I had to go out of my way to get the rats, so I didn't wind up needing to have Sparks eat a butterfly out here.
Wow, amazing gem RNG, so that you only needed one turnaround. And again, that's still a guessing game. Even if you get good gem RNG like that, it's like you can't really know if you got them all. And you'd think that you could just look at the end there, but the gems don't fully spawn in from this distance, even if you grab the yellows on top. Secondly, that was just a really good execution there. But very compared to a real-time run, that's definitely I would say a TAS level execution of that. Very cool.
That was, I think, about as good as you could expect.
Yeah, a human can do that. A human can do that. It's just very risky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine you get a 110 Dreamweavers and then you're pushing all of these strats this hard?
Yeah, no, doing a single turnaround after a Dreamweavers like that, talk about the human emotional side of things. It's you're shitting your pants at this point,
Yeah, exactly. And then the unfortunate side effect of that route is I actually have too many lives here. So.
Oh yes, correct, because we didn't take the death abuse in Dreamweavers.
Yep, got the wall glide, and only one death abuse there means 1 life here still. I could have opted to do the death abuse route in Ice Cavern.
Yeah, that might actually be the way to go, actually, in terms of optimizing the life route of this category. I think the old route of Ice Cavern being comparatively similar to the new one.
But then again, I mean, think about
the death abuse trail. Yeah, think about the
confidence that'll go into that, because the time you're potentially saving from doing all of that like the second you fail the Dreamweaver's wall glide, suddenly you've basically lost that time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's not true. You can get some really good lives after that wall glide. I think the one on the way to
yeah, no, it's like
it's pretty free. So maybe I'll walk.
It's even at my level in this game. You know, I think it's definitely in what's the word? Not realistic to expect your life count to be like consistent,
yeah,
where it's
absolutely.
like, all right, I'm gonna route out my life starting in Ice Cavern.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not gonna take any accidental deaths. You know, it's like
yeah, like that's just such a
and I'm gonna get the Dreamweaver's wall glide. You know, so I can do the single death abuse route in Twilight Harbor. It's like that's such like a stretch, I think, for anybody. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, this is the, okay. This is the flop. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless someone gets, like, a really good setup for this, I don't see this being worthwhile.
It's just, like, really hard to do, is what you're saying.
It's, in my testing for this theory test, I found it to be wildly inconsistent whether or not I'd actually get over the wall. So... I mean, and again, like, even if it's taking you 10 seconds to set up regular credit skip, like, over that, I mean, that's over a series of runs, that's still worth it, in my mind.
Yeah, Lucia, no, there's a handful of runners that go for the flop credit skip.
And then this loot. I love this loot.
I love that.
Those magic stairs aren't as hard as you'd think either, actually.
I actually go for a full hop glide to the second stair there, but yeah, I'm sure the magic stair is probably faster.
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I tested out doing the double stairs with a single jump, and I actually found them to be a little bit slower.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So, but again, I mean, we're talking frames here. We're really deep in the weeds, so...
Yeah. And speaking of deep in the weeds, the route here, I've been trying to incorporate a little bit more with the early rocket, not just with the early rocket, but the early rocket so that you can do this sort of like around the wide section and go for the early, the super early first plane.
Yeah.
This is a really cool route to go for. I definitely think more 120 runners should explore this. Me and John found, we labbed out a setup for that early first plane, super early first plane, where you bonk off the wall of the key door. And so if you're curious about that, just watch my runs. I do that on every run now, or at least I go for it on every run.
Yeah,
and
it's still kind of hard, but it's much better than doing what I did here.
Yeah. But it's still cool. It's cool to like go for the gold there. That's like one of those like risk it for the biscuit, you know, type of swag things. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like even if you fuck it up, it's like you lose like maybe a couple seconds. All right, we're coming to an end here. John, let me just say one more time, this has been such a cool task to watch. Thank you for like hopping in the call with me and like kind of giving me the lowdown of what your thought process was with all this. Obviously, this isn't like a super optimal, you know, crazy like frame by frame task. So to see your perspective on things and why you made this task, it really gives a lot of context and makes it, I think, a really interesting watch. So thank you for showing us this task. GG's in the chat, and yeah, thank you, man.
No problem.
Spyro the Dragon.
I like talking about it. I put a lot of effort into it, so it's, you know, it's validating, you know, just to know that it's not like me screaming into the void, essentially.
And you know, you're right. Like speedrunning feels like that sometimes, and especially when you're not like actually doing like a real-time run, you know, on Twitch or something. It's like, what am I doing here? I'm like making like a task that no one's gonna watch, or I'm like coming up with a route and like posting in a Discord that like, you know, no one cares. It's like people do care, and I think like runs like this are really important. Anybody who's watching this run right now on YouTube, please get into tool-assisted speedruns, especially if you're interested in this game. This game has such, I think, a storied progression still left to be uncovered, especially in the TAS sense of things. So if you're curious about TASs, tool-assisted super plays, or speedruns, what are some like good websites to go to? Actually, I was gonna like try to like mention some websites, but I actually don't even know.
TASvideos.org.
There's one. There's not a huge task community for this game, so if you're curious, definitely join the Spyro 1 Discord. As I always say, join the Spyro 1 Discord, and if you're curious about any sort of like task stuff, this run was done on BizHawk, the emulator. Was done basically using save states and and segmented approaches to things, but you could definitely do frame by frame inputs and things like that. So there's a lot to be explored, I think, in this game still from a task perspective. But having this here as like a baseline for like, things for me, this run alone gives me so much stuff to explore in my own runs. I can only imagine what like a true, frame by frame, years work of tasks like could possibly uncover in this game.
And that is not exaggerating. Like making a full proper task is probably about a year's worth of work. Like this was a month.
Yeah.
This took me 1 month to do. Like we're not even in the same ballpark of how much effort goes into this versus a real task.
Yeah, and shout outs to all the actual to the people who task actual like platformers from this era. It's a really sort of tough thing to do when it comes to like a 3D movement based game to decide, all right, this is the most optimal thing. So I know I see Ale Musa in the chat, who's a very like a well-known Ratchet and Clank tasser, as well as people like Tame Neon, who's tasked Sly 1. I'm sure there's other people I'm forgetting, but Pan and Coic, shouts Pan and Coic, Pancake Man. But John, thank you so much for making this. You're definitely not yelling into a void. This is super useful for me and I think everyone else who's interested in this game. So thank you once again for talking me through this and making this and being here. You're the man, John.
Well, man, just because it wasn't mentioned, the final time for this task was a 1:21:21.
And translated to console times, like to the fastest platform, how fast would that be?
It's somewhere between a high 118 and like a 119, something like that.
And for reference, my current world record in this category is a high 121.52. So just to give, and this is not like an optimized task, right? There's like so much further down the rabbit hole we can go.
Yeah, so. I have no doubt that like an actual serious heavy duty task could get down to like the 117 mark, even with emulator loads. So,
yeah. Well, cool, John. Any last words you want to share with anyone before we sign off here?
I've always liked the word over Morrow.
Over Mario?
Over Morrow. Over Morrow.
What does that mean?
It means the day after tomorrow.
Oh,
it's a super useful word, and no one ever uses it.
So everybody go out and maybe today or tomorrow or over tomorrow, go make a task, go get into speedrunning. And thank you for watching and thank you for being here. I love you. And thanks for hanging out, John. Love you.
No problem. Thanks for doing it.
Woo! We did it. We watched the task. That was so cool. Like to see that task with John talking about it, like the creator, like explaining it. It's hard to know like what the fuck is going on with this shit. You know what I mean? Like without the full context, like, all right, why did he make this task? What other tasks are there? So to have a video like this, I think on YouTube to like show to people, like this is the state. It's almost like this is the state of Spyro 1 tasking right now, So